Laipply podcast.
Take a look at what the first round of that Democratic fight looked like. Nearly 42 million Americans lost their SNAP food assistance benefits. They were suffering. More than 5.2 million airline passengers faced flight delays and cancellations. 1.4 million federal workers went weeks without pay. And the White House estimates the economy lost about $15 billion every week of those 6 weeks. A massive hit of $90 billion over the entire shutdown. When you count everything all up, you can count them. 10 zeros. House Republican Conference Chair Lisa McClain comes up in focus first.
So I thought it would be fun to highlight just how much money our Democratic members of Congress receive from insurance companies and companies associated with the ACA and Obamacare in the form of donations and super PACs to fund their campaigns and line their pockets.
$0.4 million for civic engagement in Zimbabwe, $3.9 million for LGBTQ democracy grants in the Balkans, things like this. You guys say this is about saving healthcare, but how do these pet projects fit?
Yeah, we have no idea what you're talking about or what Republican extremists fed you those talking points.
Yeah.
Congressman,
are you selling pillows today? Is that
not today. I have a legitimate question for you about the climate issue.
I'd like to hear more about your pillow, your blue light special on pillows.
Well, I would love to talk to you about Bill Gates saying that climate change is no longer an issue. Do you have any comment on that?
I'd like to talk to you about your joke of a media outlet. What a fraud you are.
You know, this seems to be kind of also another litmus test for how to be in MAGA world. I mean, is this the new reality for this MAGA era of politicians, that they don't back down when they're confronted with facts?
It's clear as day. The FBI put out statistics. Crime is going down. You don't have to twist the facts.
The FBI quietly comes out with this new data that shows actually violent crime is up 4.5% during that time frame.
The only person making an accusation that people are not getting what they've asked for is Trump, falsely claiming that the administration is withholding resources because of political affiliation. That is just not true.
Well, the Federal Emergency Management Agency is facing major backlash after confirming reports that a supervisor ordered disaster relief workers to avoid homes with Trump yard signs.
There's actually not any evidence linking any of Hunter Biden's wrongdoings to Joe Biden.
You are incorrect.
You think that Biden would actually pardon Hunter Biden, despite him saying
Yes, as a father, he would.
No.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Breaking news. President Biden has just pardoned his son.
One of the funniest moments in any cabinet meeting, President Trump had them bring in a full-size picture of himself with Putin. And when they were in Hawaii, and he's very tall and Putin was very short, Putin came up to about here, and he said, you know what I said to him? He said, I've had it up to here with you. Okay.
I remember that.
There are 8 presidents from Ohio. How many can you name?
Oh.
This is unfair.
That is a totally unfair question. I regret coming to this event.
Let's watch this because it's so funny.
People are not going to be able to afford their insurance. I don't think even with subsidies.
Wait for it.
Premiums that are hiking up 100, 200, 300%.
Wasn't Obamacare supposed to fix that?
People, not without the universal. I mean, there's
Affordable Care Act.
Yeah,
Affordable was the first word.
Go down. It went the exact opposite, with the biggest increase of healthcare in any country. It's a disaster, and I'm calling today for insurance companies not to be paid, but for the money, this massive amount of money, to be paid directly to the people of our country so that they can buy their own healthcare, which will be far better and far less expensive than the disaster known as Obamacare. And I've had, I think, great support. I've even had Democrat support. So we want the money that would be going to the insurance company, which is hundreds of billions of dollars. You know, their stock prices have gone up by 1,000% in many cases, 1,000% over a short period of time, because our country stupidly pays them so much money with this Obamacare scandal. So I want the money to go directly to you, the people. and you go out and you'll buy your own health insurance and you'll negotiate different plans and you'll get much better insurance and you will be an entrepreneur for yourself. So I'm always willing to work with anyone, including the other party. We'll work on something having to do with health care. We can do a lot better. We can do great. So much money is involved, and we're willing to pay so much money to the people. So we're going to pay a lot of money to the people. They're going to go out and buy their own health care, and we're going to forget this Obamacare madness. So with all of that, I just want to tell you the country has never been in better shape.
That mentioned the president, and we do want to be clear, the president, Trump, did not receive or send any of the messages, which largely predated his time as president. He's not been accused of any criminal wrongdoing in connection with Epstein or Maxwell. The White House.
All right, Thursday night, and we are live. Hope everybody's doing good. As always, be blessed in the mighty name of Jesus. Let me say to everybody in the chat tonight, Jules, 21 hours is already in the rant at $10. Thank you so much, Jules. Mr. Cool Dude is on. Guitar Glenn is on. TJT1 is on. JGCK is on. Guitar Glenn is on. Agravane is on. Mike Griffith is on. Waterline 46 is on. Producer Aaron is on. Arcadia Angel is on. Veronica 18201 is on. General Plowman is on. 23 Justin Blake is on. D9597 is on. Let me see. Sexy Pony is on. Robin Aroni is on. Jeannie Malfeasy is on. Conservative Warrior 65 is on. Keeper 1376 is on. Sun Gun is on. Laura Jean Lynn is on. PD Frank is on. Stephen Toms is on. Peg McGroin is on. Big Jim Go Blue is on. DK Jackson is on. The great T1AU is on. Supergirl 21 is on. Lionsmanson is on. Leon Fish Puppy is on. Ever Eden is on. Those Jesus People is on. Let me see. K4 VMS is on. Let me grab a couple more here. Confederate 1 is on. Agravane is on. Let me see here. Dana 59 is on. Mojave Jeep is on. Ever Eden is on. Let me see here. Luann 5 is on. Grab a couple more. Mark 1069 is on. See if I missed anybody here. Richard Perry 49 is on. Patrina C is on. Grab a couple more here. Alligator Alcatraz is on. Let me grab one or two more here. Uncle Wally is on. Let me see. Granted 2468 is on. Appreciate you guys. Now, title of the show is Who is Really the One That's Suppressing the Epstein Information? Well, hopefully I'll do this briefly because I've had enough of talking about Epstein. But anyway, so who's really suppressing this information from coming out? Let's look at this real quick here. Red Wave Press video. Newly sworn in Rep Adelita, and you can just guess from the size of her side by side. They can just guess from the size of her whether she's Republican or Democrat. But anyway, Rep Adelita, I don't know, Gurjavala, something like that, Democrat from Arizona. We need to fight for our immigrant communities, LGBTQ. This is why. So she says we need to stand up for LGBTQ rights because that's what the American people expect us to do, fight for them. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files. How she correlates those two, I really don't know. But so she says that she's going to sign the discharge petition to release the Epstein files. Listen to what she says, and then let's look at how Democrats act. Play it for me.
Just this morning, House Democrats released more emails showing that Trump knew more about Epstein's abuses than he previously acknowledged. It's past time for Congress to restore its role as a check and balance on this administration and fight for we, the American people. We need to fight for our immigrant communities and veterans. We need to stand up for our public schools, children, and educators. We need to respect tribal sovereignty in our environment. We need to stand up for LGBTQ plus rights because that's what the American people expect us to do. Fight for them. That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files.
You know, so for the first time in her life, she gets clapped over. She's so happy with herself. You know, she's a big fat girl. They're all happy. There I am. Everybody's applauding me. Oh, I feel so good about myself. So here's what happened. So what was actually tried to pass, and you can go just side by side that for me. So they actually put out a consent decree. Okay, or it's not degree. Degree? No, decree.
Decree.
Decree. Thank you, Aaron. Consent decree, right? Decree?
Yeah.
All right. I want to make sure I get it right. But anyway, so they were sent, and that was put out by Tim Burchett. Here it is, right here. And look, she said right here, she's going to sign the petition, release the Epstein files. Now, what is a consent decree? What is that? That is very much, you barely even have to vote. Everyone just says, everyone has just an up or down. Yes, release them. That's it. No, nobody has to even put their name on it. It's just it's simply a consent decree. That's it. That's all you got to do. And look at the count. Republicans 132 yay, Democrats 135 against, and then you had Republicans 87 no votes and Democrats 78 no votes. Again, this is a simple consent decree. This is all you need to do is say up or down. Yes, that's it. Your name doesn't even go on it, and it's released. Everything's released. Everything is released. Everything that there is in the federal government that has the name Epstein in it is released. And what the Democrats do? What about our grandstanding? That is why I will sign the discharge petition right now to release the Epstein files. So what's the difference between a discharge petition and a consent decree? What's the difference? What's the difference? Nothing. Why didn't they sign it then? And I've been saying this for a long time. Democrats go out and they're always saying, first of all, you have to just look at their track record. Just the 4 years, and plus the 8 years of the Obama administration, too, that Jeffrey Epstein was a criminal then, too. All of these years of Democratic Party control in the House, the Senate, and the presidency, and everything else, they never once asked for the Epstein files to be released, not one time. I don't like what Trump's done either, but the thing is, here's the difference. Trump is doing it for the political expediency of the CIA and the Mossad and MI6 and MI5. Democrats are doing this to simply try to torpedo Donald Trump. And I don't agree with what Trump's doing, but at least it isn't for himself because he has nothing to do with Epstein. They had a brief friendship, they're now calling him best friends and everything else, all lies. And here they are lying again. They actually, imagine if it was you. Would you ever go up to a podium and say that you are advocating for the release of all the Epstein files and vote against it on the record? Knowing that this was going to be released, they don't even care. They don't even care that podcasts like this one and numerous others are going to reveal this to the public. They don't even care. I guess their constituencies don't even care. I guess nobody cares that they're going to go out and advocate for the release of the Epstein files, then vote against it. I guess they just don't even care about their blatant hierarchical hypocrisy. And again, as a Democrat, you know this is the case. I mean, Rosie O'Donnell from her mansion in Ireland, wherever it was that she moved to, she's been saying Trump will refuse us to release the Epstein files. Here you go, Rosie. Rosie, here it is. It was a simple consent decree. There it is, right here. That's it. All you need to do is vote. There's all your Democratic buddies. There's all your pedophilic, baby butchering, Democratic Party, LGBTQ, lopping off of penises, testicles, and breasts buddies. There they are. And then they voted against it. I mean, there's your own party, Rosie. You want it released. It was released right here. All you had to do was sign on the consent decree. It was over. They don't do it. Let's look at this one. Mario Nawfal video. Here's Rep Luna on this. Play for me.
The power of the word no. I heard another word all day, Epstein.
Yeah.
What happened with the Epstein deal today?
Well, you know, Tim Burchett made a motion. It's something called unanimous consent to basically say all members of the House of Representatives agree that this should be released, and the Democrats voted to block it. So if you don't think by now that the Democrats haven't used this basically as a political hot potato in an effort to smear the president and distract from their shutdown failure, you're not paying attention. So I'm happy that Representative Burchett did that. It just showed their hand. But you know, Jesse, we've been launching, with the full cooperation of the administration, a conclusive investigation and House oversight. There's many reports that we're waiting on from Treasury. The victims have promised names, but remember, there's also a pending lawsuit with Deutsche Bank on that. And so all that to say that, yes, we know Jeffrey Epstein was a bad guy, but we are doing everything that we can here, and it's the Democrats that voted to block it tonight.
Well, so there you go, and that's exactly what happened. There's no way it would be released right now. Here she is again. Lindell TV video. Watch our reporter grills Democrat, and we're guessing on her name. Rep. What would we come up with?
Grijalva.
Grijalva. Adelita Grijalva, something like that. After the Epstein file vote blocked. Here's a response. Play it for me.
Democrats continue to say that it's Republicans who are keeping the Epstein files hidden, but Congressman Tim Burchett is just reporting that he tried to bring a release of the Epstein files to the floor immediately, and Democrats blocked it. Do you have any insight as to what happened there and why?
When was that?
You just reported it just about 4 minutes ago.
I tried to do a UC, unanimous consent, tried to get the Epstein files, get it straight to the floor, just to cut out all this nonsense, and and the Democrats blocked it, oddly enough.
Look, I think it's incredibly clear that Republicans will stop at nothing to avoid the disclosure of this information. So what that means is 218 signatures were reached despite White House efforts, even at the 11th hour, to summon people down to the White House to try to get them to remove their signatures. Those members said no. And so our rules indicate at 218, members get a vote. And so that's what we're looking forward to. We're not looking for people to avoid taking a vote on this. And that's what that effort was. That is a weak effort to try to allow Republicans to pass this measure without being accountable and showing whether they support this or not. So let's call the vote. The discharge process has its rules. Let's bring the question up. Nothing prevents the speaker from bringing this up tomorrow if he wanted it done. But if he drags it out, and if the will of those that bipartisan coalition holds, we will have this before us in a couple weeks. But we're interested in every member in this chamber putting their vote up, either yes or a no. And then we'll see what happens from there.
You just had your chance, clown show. You just had your chance. It was right there. It was right there. All you needed to do was vote for the release. Tim Burchett brought it out right in front of you. You want this person to be on, to be held accountable for their vote or whatever. I thought you wanted it all released. Oh, you're just trying to score political points. Did you realize that 78 of your own people no voted today? And 135 people or no showed vote, just did a no vote. And then you had, and that gets confusing because not voted no, but didn't vote at all. 78% of your people didn't even vote. 78 of your people didn't vote at all. And then 135 of your people voted no to release it. Why? He says this could be brought up tomorrow. It's brought up today, clown. It was brought up today. It could all be released right now, and you chose not to do it. Because somehow you wanted to, and by the way, you chose not to do it for 365 days of, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, and 8 years of the Biden administration. You never tried to do it when you owned the Congress during the Trump administration either. Trump won. Why is that exactly? I'm just curious. Amazing. All right, look at this one. MJ Truth Ultra video. Excellent follow on Twitter, by the way. And I want to bring this up. I keep forgetting to mention it, and it worked out really well. First couple times I did. Make sure you go on to Twitter and make an account. It doesn't matter how many people you follow, how many people follow you or anything else. Go on Twitter. This podcast is live on Twitter every night. Same quality as Rumble, maybe even better than Rumble, whatever, on Twitter every night. Get an account on Twitter. It helps us. We need to break through. We need to get more viewers, everything else. So I'm not complaining. But Rumble, when they changed the algorithm, just cut our viewership in half when they changed how you get on the front page of it and everything else. I love Rumble. I love their leadership, but they smashed smaller podcasts. So we need to get more viewers. Are really the only other free speech platform other than Rumble is Twitter. So, Twitter X, Elon's platform, and it is way larger. So go on Twitter, make an account on Twitter, and follow Tom Laipply. The podcast is always there also. But anyway, I just want to encourage you to do that. Last time I did it, lots of you did actually end up following me on Twitter. I recognize your names off of the Rumble chat. But anyway, just want to remind you of that. But anyway, MJ Truth Ultra, excellent follow on Twitter also. Check this crap out. It was what it says the S word, but I'm saying I'm going to edit it for everybody. Michael Wolff, now remember that's the anti-Trump novelist, the guy who likes to write anti-Trump books. The journalist who we just learned was coaching Epstein on how to gain leverage over a presidential candidate, said in an interview that Epstein was growing suspicious that Donald Trump was the one who informed on him. So Donald Trump informed on Epstein. And he's not the only one that says so. The district attorney in that area basically said the exact same thing. Informed on him and set the stage for when his legal troubles truly began. Epstein's legal troubles truly began in March 2005, and Wolff was pointing to a 2024 real estate dispute over a Palm Beach mansion. Play for me.
At that point, Epstein's legal problems began. The police began to investigate him over allegations that he was, that there were underage women coming to his house. Epstein believed that it was Trump who first informed the police about what was going on at Epstein's house. And from that point on, they were nothing but bitter enemies.
And this is what he's telling you. This is one of the instances of what he's telling you. That the following
that is the version of this related by
the hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes across as calling the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago. What he's talking about is the Democrats who are doing this with impure motives. If they cared so much about this, why didn't they do something during the 4 years of the Biden administration when the Biden DOJ had all the records? They didn't say a word about it. Now they're doing it for political purposes.
Our current president has had relationships with Epstein in the past, and there are those Katie Johnson and maybe other victims who accuse Trump of being involved in things like this. In my experience, Trump supporters will not listen to anything along those lines. Obviously, we're not a court of law here right now, but are those claims, though that case was dropped, it was dropped before it went to court. In your opinion, as a lawyer and your experience, is there anything you can say as to the validity of those claims, or whether or not there will be any more about that?
Nothing at all. The only thing that I can say about President Trump is that he is the only person who, in 2009, when I served a lot of subpoenas on a lot of people, or at least gave notice to some pretty connected people that I wanted to talk to them, he is the only person who picked up the phone and said, let's just talk. I'll give you as much time as you want. I'll tell you what you need to know, and was very helpful in the information that he gave, and gave no indication whatsoever that he was involved in anything untoward whatsoever, but had good information that checked out and that helped us, and that we didn't have to take a deposition of him.
That was in 2009?
That was in 2009. So,
do you know if there's any truth to James Patterson's claims that Trump kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago?
I've definitely heard that.
So they were mortal enemies basically a couple years before 2009. And then remember, it's 2025 here, almost 2026. And the Democrats claims that they were best friends and that these new, and I read everything that they put out last night. I put out the emails. We read every word off of them. It's all a joke. It basically exonerates Donald Trump, completely and totally exonerates him and everything, and the emails that they're using to accuse him, because that's how delusional and evil the Democrats are. They put out emails that exonerate Donald Trump from any criminality and claim that they incriminate him. Why is that thing going up and down?
We're fixing it.
Okay, just leave it. Yep. Just let it be broken and then flip it and make it moving around. I have another screen you guys don't see. It's driving me crazy. But anyway, so the Democrats, it's just proven, here are the actual facts. That was actually Michael Wolff talking to the PBD podcast, claiming, rightfully so, and he spent hours and hours and hours and days and days and days with Jeffrey Epstein. and basically coaching him how to take down Trump, sort of. But it had to acknowledge that they were mortal enemies over a Palm Beach mansion deal. And then Trump and Epstein suspected that Trump was the one who turned him in. That was the U.S. attorney that was talking right there and said Trump was the only witness that cooperated with him without an attorney. So everything they're saying is wrong. So now you might be thinking, and rightfully so, then why doesn't Trump just turn it over? Because he met with John Ratcliffe and the CIA and they said it'll be too damaging to national security or national interests. Listen, politicians are not national security. Politicians are not our national interest. They have personal interests. Because it would expose Clapper, Brennan, Comey, Susan Rice, and all the other idiots out of the Obama administration doesn't make it a threat to national security or our threat to national interest. That's what is always being peddled. Anthony Fauci will say, you're not allowed to read my emails because it is a threat to national security or national interest. No, it is a threat to your personal interest and your personal financial security because you're going to be sued into oblivion and locked up in a federal prison for the rest of your life where you belong if your emails are actually redacted. So that's what's always being peddled to us. And there's more and more classifications and more things get classified. The fraudulent spending of Democrats via USAID and everything else, that all gets classified. Why would it be classified? They say it's because of national interest or national security. No, it's got everything. It's to cover up the malfeasance, criminality of Democrats. If their criminality and malfeasance gets exposed, how is that a national security risk? It isn't, but that's what they constantly say. All right, change the subjects. Kylie Means video. My jaw dropped. Remember what the shutdown was all about, allegedly, was continuing the ACA subsidies. That's the Obamacare, Affordable Care Act subsidies. Now, since the Affordable Care Act was rolled out, was put into place, everybody's health care went up 40%. Isn't that just that is the perfect synopsis or the perfect epitome of governmental spending? Whenever the government takes over anything and they call it affordable, your expenses go up 40%. Now, on top of that 40%, Joe Biden increased the subsidy expenditures by 40%. So he put 40% more money in there. How much is it up to now? Does anybody know? $800 billion. $800 billion is spent by you. How many of you are even in the ACA? How many of you ever have received a dime from the ACA? But it's all your money for insurance subsidies. So basically, what is this thing? And I know I've gone over it, but I want to make sure that people understand what I'm talking about instead of just saying evil Democrats, right Republicans. No, it's not that way. There's a lot of specifics that people need to understand. The ACA basically is a single payer. It's a single payer format. It is a way for the government to pay for people's health care without the government without the government actually having to admit that they pay for people's health care. Because what they do is they take our tax dollars and they give them to Blue Cross Blue Shield or any other company you want to name. That's what happens. They give them as an insurance subsidy. So people who would need to pay, let's say, $5,000 a year for the health insurance, they only have to pay $700 a year or zero because Will pays for it. See? And then Will's healthcare costs go up 40% because he's paying for somebody else's insurance or their insurance subsidy. The subsidy is if it's partially paid for or completely paid for. That's their insurance. And then what these insurance companies do is they themselves have become giant multinational conglomerates since they've received an infusion of $800 billion since the ACA's passed. I mean, that's pretty good for business. Would everybody agree? Pretty good for business when you receive $800 billion for doing nothing. So what they do then is then not give the health care that people want because they want to hold on to as much as that $800 billion they can. That's why everybody gets turned down for everything. You need this test. Nope. Oh, it's an aspirin in the hospital. That costs $78 an aspirin. That's why. So they're getting not only are they not giving money, they're receiving all that money back from people like you and I, not on the ACA, because guess what? We have the same health insurance companies. Yeah. The people who are in the ACA that are receiving the subsidies are also everybody else's insurance companies too. So they're raking it in from both sides. They charge you $2,000 for an x-ray and you're not on the ACA. You just have their full boat coverage. You're like, why the freak does this cost so much? Well, then they can make money from both ends People are that evil? Yeah, the love of money is the root of all evil. Read your Bible. Understand the Bible. The root of the love of money is the love of money is the root of all evil. Remember that. So here's a Callie Means video. My jaw dropped when I saw this number. Play it for me.
When you add up federal spending, when you add up Medicare, Medicaid, what Social Security payments go to health care, the military expenditure on health care, the interest on the debt for health care, it's 50% of U.S. spending. We spend 4 times more than European countries per capita on health care, and we are living 7 years less. That point was made again and again and again. And you have right now the Democrats looking at that and saying, all we need to do is give more money to insurance companies. All we need to do is put more money into this broken system. And the Trump administration, Secretary Kennedy and his team is saying, how do we reform this system fundamentally to profit from hospital beds being empty instead of full, to profit when people go off pharma drugs, not keep taking them, to profit when people get healthy? That's the foundational question the Trump administration is inviting the American people and policymakers to have, and the Democrats are nowhere to be found.
So keep this in mind, 75%, I just lost my in-ears, 75% of pharmaceutical expenditures are in the United States of America. In other words, we finance to the degree of 75%. We are 75% of big pharma's profits are right here in the United States of America. Think about it. What's the size of our country? We're really a medium-sized country. We just have a great military, but we're a medium-sized country. 330 million people is what they say that we have. I believe we have more than that. But I'm just saying, you look at China's 1.4 million. India's 1.1, China's 1.4 billion. India's 1 billion. So, we're not that big of a country, but we spend 75% of the money going into big pharma comes from you and I. And we live 7 years less than the average person in the European Union. And by the way, their healthcare is absolutely abysmal. Their healthcare is terrible. They fly over here for procedures. Like, how does that all work out? How does that work out? Because we have pockets that are really good, like surgeries and things like that. If you really need one, we're really good at that. Some other things too. I'm not trying to make it only that. But in all other areas, we're not very good. And what? Because we're on because America is on drugs constantly, on big pharma, on pharmaceuticals all the time. You can't be necessarily in the EU because their healthcare system's so terrible, you can never get them anyway. And by the way, I don't want them to get on pharmaceuticals. Go, Tom, you're not making a whole lot of sense here. What I'm saying is where things are good are things like surgeries here in the United States, which they can't get there, so they fly over here and get them. So they get the best of our healthcare system and don't get the worst of it, which is big pharma. That's why they're healthier than the United States is and live 7 years longer and spend a whole lot less money on it. We're spending $800 billion a year. They're spending a half of that, whatever Callie Means said, and living longer because they come over for the best of our healthcare and don't participate in the worst of our healthcare. And you're better off going over there and risking it and staying off all the pharmaceuticals. And it's like, well, make this make sense. It's like this. If you're over there and you need a heart transplant, you're done. But the good thing is, if you're needing some sort of pharmaceutical, you have the same waiting period time, same waiting period. So you don't end up on big pharma, which actually makes you live longer. I hope that makes sense to everybody. So here's what the Trump administration, I'm talking about the shutdown right now. Nick Sorter video. Here's what the Trump administration was doing. I'm just wondering where the Democrats' checks. Kristi Noem is issuing $10,000 bonus checks to TSA agents who didn't call out sick during the shutdown. Play for them.
Rico, I want to present to you a check and say thank you from the American people. Appreciate it. Ashley, thank you. Yes. And is Leo here? All right, Leo.
All right, well, it's a nice moment that
I just wanted to show you that the Trump administration is handing out $10,000 checks. What are the Democrats doing? Democrats wanted to keep it shut down even more and even longer. And by the way, I wanted it to be shut down for forever. But you see, that's the perfect dichotomy you could talk about all this dichotomy when it comes to Israel and Muslims and everything else. I wanted the government shut down just for different reasons. But I definitely want to shut down. I want the government's budget cut in half today. I don't want a continuing resolution. But anyway, it just shows you the difference. Republicans actually blessing people, the Trump administration actually blessing people, and the Democrats just politically, just trying to be politically expedient in whatever way they can, try to torpedo Donald Trump so that they can gain more power. They don't care about the people they say they care about. Otherwise, they'd be out handing out checks. And when was the last time you ever saw AOC do anything charitable? She doesn't do anything charitable. She just shows up at celebrity events. That's all she ever does, and talks. They never actually do anything charitable with their own money. They only do things charitable with our money, with our tax revenue. Let me show you this one. I call this the border section of the show, but it's not necessarily our borders. It's basically any borders. Tommy Robinson video. Side by side that for me, would you, Aaron, real quick? So I just want to show you what we're talking about here. You're like, what the freak is this? I thought the same thing. Well, instead of closing the borders in the European Union and in Great Britain, instead of closing the borders and actually keeping the rapists out, they're now manufacturing rape-proof underwear. Yeah. Instead of actually now this is prototypical globalist, leftist, bourgeois, elitist, Democratic Party. They cause the problem and then they offer you their solutions. What they do is they cause the terrorism and then they say, you know what, in order to solve our terrorism problem, we need to usher in totalitarianism to keep you safe for when they shall say peace and safety. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verses 3 and 4. That's what they do. They cause the problem. They cause mass crime. And they say, you know what? The only way for us to solve this problem is for us to take control of all of society. And now we have caused a mass rape problem. I bet you some way or another, Democratic Party, leftist, globalist, elitist politicians are going to profit off of the sale of rape-proof underwear. So we've caused this rape epidemic. And now instead of actually just kicking out the rapists or never allowing them in, we're going to now sell women rape-proof underwear. Play it for me. So the guy will just hold a gun to your head and tell you unlock your underwear. I mean, that's all that's going to happen. I mean, come on. But anyway, think about how ridiculous that is. That reminds me of the video, the no-go zone video. Don't touch they had to put out a video, Democratic Party politicians. I say Democratic Party politicians. But what I mean by that are globalist, leftist, bourgeois, elitists, because they're always the same. There's no threat of rape to them because they have armed security. So there's no threat of rape. They've caused the rape problem. And what they do is put out a video that she sits there and goes, this is my no-go zone. That's going to stop a low IQ inbred Pakistani goat rapist from raping your daughter. If you go up and you do a no-go zone video. This is my no-go zone. Remember that stupid freaking thing? And now it's rape-proof underwear. I mean, imagine that. Imagine living in an area, living in a country. By the way, we're not that far off because we have now with Donald Trump not allowing in, we have 0 people released into our country in the last 6 months. So basically 0 people released into our country since Trump is taken over by the government anyway. So it might be a couple people sneak across the border, which is it's not a very profitable thing to sneak across the border now because you're going to be deported anyway. But anyway, so imagine living in a country where they're allowing in your rapists and they're telling you to wear rape-proof underwear. How uncomfortable those things look, by the way. I mean, they're so tight. I mean, it might serve a dual purpose because they're cutting off all the blood flow to the women's ovaries and everything else. Well, maybe they're not going to have babies then. That's their goal anyway, is to depopulate the world, basically starting with you evil whites. But anyway, all right, breaking 9/11 video. California is revoking 17,000 CDL licenses. Play for me.
California is revoking 17,000 commercial driver's licenses issued to immigrants.
Yeah, the decision is directly related to the legal status of the immigrant drivers.
Eyewitness News reporter Madison Weil live in our newsroom with these details. Madison.
Yeah, John, Rachel, Tony, that's right. The state says the licenses are being revoked because they're set to expire after the date the drivers are allowed to be in the U.S. The move follows pressure from the Trump administration, although California says these licenses violate an existing standard that was already in place. A nationwide audit was recently launched after a man from India with a commercial driver's license issued by California allegedly killed 3 people in Florida while making an illegal U-turn back in August. After that incident and a national review, the Department of Transportation threatened to pull $160 million in federal funding from California, claiming the state is issuing commercial driver's licenses to undocumented immigrants. Still, Governor Newsom says that every driver whose license is being revoked had valid work authorizations from the federal government. Another horrific crash that has kept this issue in the spotlight is one that happened in Ontario last month. It involved an undocumented man from India who is now facing vehicular manslaughter and reckless driving charges after 3 people died in that fiery wreck. In September, the U.S. Department of Transportation implemented new rules for commercial driver's licenses that make it harder for immigrants to obtain these licenses. Reporting in the newsroom, Madison Weil.
All right, so how many of those licenses were actually issued? 2 illegals, by the way. These are illegal aliens. You know, here's the qualifications for a CDL, commercial driver's license. Here's the qualifications. You have to be in the country legally. Give it to me, Aaron.
Legally.
You have to be in legally. You be green card holder, work permit, whatever it may be, or a citizen of the United States of America or a naturalized citizen, whatever it may be. So when you issue 62,000 of them to illegals, are those legal driver's licenses? I mean, life is really quite simple. But that's what Gavin Newsom is doing, and they're killing people all around the world, all around our world here in North America, whether it's Canada or here in the United States. So that's number one. Number 2 is you have to be fluent in English. None of them are, but they were issued licenses anyway. They were issued a CDL when they're not a citizen, when they're not legally here, and they can't speak English. Then you have to pass the sign test. None of them passed that either. They all flunked the sign test, where you have to be able to actually read the signs. It's kind of important. If you're going to be driving down the road carrying 20 tons and you're going 100 miles an hour, as we've already seen, that guy basically shoot a missile, that last one that looks like a missile attack in downtown Beirut. That was a CDL driver blowing up everybody in sight and killing 3 people in Gavin Newsom's California. The other one was sadly here in the state of Florida, with a man issued a CDL out of California that killed a family of 3 as he did a U-turn. You know why he did a U-turn? Because he has no idea what the signs say. No idea, but Gavin Newsom, this is a Democratic Party. If you're a Democrat, how do you even look yourself in the face? How do you look at yourself in the mirror and not have great disdain? How does that make any sense to you as a Democrat? I will never get how you can be a Democrat. I understand being an independent, but I could never understand. I can understand being a libertarian, but I could never understand being a Democrat. You're the person who's definitely going to be the one running for president for you in 2028. Issue 62,000 CDLs to people who can't read signs, can't speak English, and are here illegal. Explain that to me. Explain to me the virtue of that, Democrat. I would love to hear that. And why are they now revoking the licenses of 17,000 out of the 62,000? Why? Because Trump cut off $160 million. So the love of money once again. Gavin Whore Newsom. Because Trump said, you know what, we're cutting $162 million of federal money from the state of California. Why are we sending the state of California with $1 trillion budget money at all anyway? Federalism. Independent states. Isn't that the Constitution? Isn't the Constitution pretty much predicated on the Federalist Papers? I mean, why do we send money to states anyway? So anyway, producer Aaron, Davy Jones, his nickname, was over there doing his magic. Here's how the European Union deals with the rape problem that Ursula von der Leyen and Keir Starmer has caused. Play it for me.
Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square. Stop! Don't touch me there. This is my no-no square.
Doesn't work. You got your rape-proof underwear. I mean, imagine, again, if you're a Democrat, this is what you're for. You're for open borders for rapists. This is what you're for. Acknowledge it and deal with the consequences of the policies that you advocate for. A person putting out a video, this is my no-no square and rape-proof underwear. That's you. I can't stand when Bill Maher says, those Democrats. No, Bill, that's what you vote for. You voted for Kamala. Give it to me, Aaron.
Kamala.
You voted for her. You get the no-no square. You get the rape-proof underwear. And we're only, if Kamala was in office right now, we'd have 20,000 people crossing the southern border every day and the United States women getting raped at pandemic levels, just like the European Union. Let's go to the next one. Eric Doherty video. Holy crap, Senator Marco Rubio drops the mic on EU accusing President Trump of violating international law. Play it for me.
I don't think that the European Union gets to determine what international law is. They certainly don't get to determine is how the United States defends its national security. The United States is under attack from organized criminal narco-terrorists in our hemisphere, and the president is responding in the defense of our country. I do find it interesting that all these countries want us to send, and supply, for example, nuclear-capable Tomahawk missiles to defend Europe. But when the United States positions aircraft carriers in our hemisphere where we live, somehow that's a problem. So I would say that the United States is, and this president has made very clear, his job is to protect the United States from threats against the United States, and that is what he's doing in this operation.
The Democrats are exactly the same way, and these are basically your EU Democrats. And they're saying, you know what, how dare you do this? Well, it's the same thing with Democrats with tariffs. How dare you levy a tariff on a foreign nation, but have absolutely no problem with tariffs being levied on us by a foreign nation? That's Democratic Party. And it's the same thing here because the stupidity of the globalist left is universal. How dare you blow up these drug-running boats that can be nothing else but drug-running boats? That's all they can be. That's it. There's no other possibility of anything else they could possibly be. And they couldn't be anything else but what they are. And they're getting blown out of the water because they're bringing fentanyl and cocaine in the United States of America. Does anybody have a problem with that? I have no problem with that at all. I have no problem with Donald Trump controlling Venezuela. That's all part of the Monroe Doctrine. And this is what we do. It's our hemisphere. Tough crap. And I love it. Our protectorate, the people that we are protecting, there would be no Ursula von der Leyen in the European Union without us. They wouldn't exist. They'd already be speaking Chinese or Russian. They are untouchable simply because of the United States of America. That's it. That's it. Now, then they're going to say, how dare you blow up drug cartel boats? Who are they? And these are the people that do 1 million drone strikes a year. I know that's hyperbolic, but how do they know who they're killing with drone strikes? How do they know? I'm just curious. How do you know who you're killing? We know Obama killed at least 2 United States citizens with drone strikes. How do they know who they're killing? But yet we know who we're killing. What else could it be out there? A giant cigarette-style speedboat with 4 outboard engines that's actually submersible. How in the world is that anything? What are they doing out there? Deep sea fishing? They doing a commercial charter out there with 3 Venezuelan men and a boatload of fentanyl. By the way, it all floats up to the top anyway, or cocaine. I'm just curious. What else are they doing out there? And by the way, the number one port of entry now for fentanyl is through our northern border, Canada, by the way. So great job there with Marco Rubio. I'm not always a big fan, but since he's been part of the Trump administration, he's done a good job. And you have to acknowledge when people do well. All right, another big win for the Trump administration. Eric Doherty video, breaking enormous victory as 70% of rare earths we get from China will plummet to 0% by the end of the Trump administration. Play it for me.
The Department of War. The Pentagon thinks that rare earths are so crucial that they just created a $400 million partnership with MP to lessen and, guys, eventually eliminate our reliance on China. An MP CEO tells me that is happening so fast. Listen.
Within the next 3 years, when we look at the expansion here at Independence, along with the 10X facility that we're bringing online, we will be able to satisfy essentially all of American demand, and we will have removed this issue off the table as a risk for American industry and the American people.
So the 70% of our rare earths that we get from China now will go to zero in the next 3 years. And how they're doing that is taking this facility now, tripling it in size to accommodate both General Motors and Apple. And when they're done, they're building an entirely new facility for the Pentagon. And because of this private-public partnership, because of this investment, everything that new facility makes, the Pentagon will buy for 10 years, guys.
Now, again, you may not be a big fan of a lot of this stuff. I'm not either. I can't stand it. I'd rather us go back to, I like to keep our useful technology that we have, but like the AI stuff and everything else, not a big fan. I can see the book of Revelation unfolding right before our very eyes from those things. But anyway, but rare earths are not just that. Rare earths are on the TV that I'm watching right here, the camera that's shooting. Any device that you're riding in right now or watching is all comes from rare earths. It's magnets. It's all, the chips and everything else. If you got a car, it's a chip. If you got a car that's built after 2010, you got a chip in it, probably even before 2010, because I know nothing about that stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, you got a chip in the car and you've got a mine to get those chips. Here's the thing. We all know that Joe Biden surrendered Afghanistan. Now, what is Afghanistan? Loaded full of rare earths. Who owns Afghanistan now? China does. So China has cornered the market on rare earths for a couple decades now, because they could see more than 2 inches in front of their face, unlike Democratic Party and many Republicans who just care about enriching themselves, as we've gone over numerous times. And life really is that simple. But anyway, so Aaron, find all the times that Joe Biden secured our rare earth future security.
Nope.
Zero.
Didn't do it.
Zero foreign and domestic investment. Donald Trump, 17 to 20 trillion. And now Donald Trump has secured through the Department of War a $400 million partnership for rare earths with MP Materials, where now we will be rare earth independent of China, who has cornered the market on rare earths. Now we have all that we need here, but nobody will mine for them. We have more oil in North Dakota or South Dakota or both than Saudi Arabia has, but we won't mine for it. And why won't we mine? Because we don't want to disturb the habitat. We don't want to excrete CO2 into the atmosphere. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to ship it over here with giant diesel motors, load it onto trucks with giant diesel motors and ship it all around the United States. Same reason why we won't build refineries either. Instead of building a refinery where hardly any shipping is needed, we don't want to build a refinery because it'll disturb the environment. So we're going to ship everything everywhere via diesel motors, and that will save the climate. It's very funny how everything in this entire climate discussion always ends up benefiting China. You look at Gavin Newsom at the COP30 right now. There is basically a tribute to China as you walk into the COP30 in Brazil, where they mowed down a rainforest so they could build a runway for their private jets to fly in and talk about climate change. That's all a fact, by the way, from Just the News, John Solomon. And it will say, we need to be going to renewable energy, which is, windmills built in China, solar panels built in China, while China builds a coal-burning plant every other week. They're building a coal-fired plant at least every other week right now. So while China is infiltrating us to the place where we're going to be driving around in wind-powered tanks, their military is going through the roof, and all they're doing is expanding their fossil fuel burning abilities. And in partnership now with Russia, who has unlimited oil and natural gas and LNG. Simple as that. Life really is simple. So while they're turning us into windmill farmers, while they're turning us into a solar-powered country, which is obviously very unreliable, both of them are very unreliable, and have no ability to even match 5% of what fossil fuels can do, they themselves are becoming more and more fossil fuel dependent and burning more and more fossil fuels every day, emitting CO2 in the atmosphere, while they sell idiots like Gavin Newsom on, you need to go to solar panels and solar power and renewable energy. That's exactly what's happening. All right, let's go to the next one. Paul A. Sapula tweet. Judge says, this is great news, another Trump victory from the Trump DOJ. It's actually not. It's, what's her name? Oh, I forgot her name. But anyway, the interim New Jersey United States Attorney Elena Habba. Elena Habba victory. Paul A. spool of video. Judge says case against Rep. LaMonica McIver for attacking federal agents, which, by the way, it's indisputable. We just watched the video. She's, hey, Aaron, you know what she's doing in the video?
What?
Attacking federal agents.
Oh.
Okay, so you probably should be charged with
attacking federal
agents. See, life is really actually quite simple.
Crazy.
Yeah. Judge says case against Rep. LaMonica McIver for attacking federal agents can proceed and denies her motion to dismiss. That's just great. Hopefully she gets bankrupted like she was advocating to happen to Donald Trump. She was caught on video, blatantly, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever man sows, that she'll also reap. LaMonica, you wanted Donald Trump bankrupted for malicious via malicious prosecution for crimes that don't exist and he didn't commit. Now you can be rightfully prosecuted, because that's how God works, for crimes you did actually commit on videotape. Very simple. If she was smart, she would have settled. She could still plead out if she wants to, because now the case will go forward. She can plead out. She needs to plead out. All right, let's go to the next one. Our great allies, the British, they're great allies, right? Great allies, Wall Street apes. And just like Donald Trump says, our allies are worse than our enemies. He was talking about economic deals and tariff deals and things like that. The worst one being Canada. Wall Street Apes video. A British billionaire named Chris Hahn has been secretly funneling hundreds of millions of dollars into radicalizing America. Report shows the goal of his NGO, funded by you, is, quote, nothing less than complete radicalization of the U.S. political landscape. Play for him.
Did you see Christopher Hone, a British billionaire, decided to cut off funding to left-wing groups in the U.S. after a study came out by Americans for Public Trust? Their report said the NGOs receiving money from the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, sounds so sweet, doesn't it? Pushed for, quote, nothing less than the complete radicalization of the U.S. political landscape. Okay, first question, why are foreign billionaires interested in pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into NGOs in this country to fund policy fights in America? And why are they allowed to do it without any disclosures? It wasn't until a private group exposed this activity that this one guy decided there was just a little too much heat. He got caught. In 10 years, CIFF funneled over $500 million into U.S. organizations to bankroll litigation and protests in our country. They also reportedly gave money to a China-connected group, the Rocky Mountain Institute, which is seeking to ban gas stoves in America. Foreign nations are barred by federal law from directly or indirectly influencing U.S. elections. And these guys are funding litigation, protests, and changes to our laws in cooperation with China? Well, now they've been exposed. Nothing to see here.
And lo and behold, you have China once again. And what's China trying to do? Get us off of fossil fuels, banning our stoves. Let's ban our gas-powered stoves, get them on electric so they can be turned off by a grid. But anyway, so let's go front to back here, and we'll end with China. $500 million from our allies. You really believe the British are our allies? They're not. You want to find like a legitimate ally, you go south of here to El Salvador. There's an ally. Go take a left from there, go down to Brazil. There's an ally. And people go, well, yeah, but Javier Milei is too pro-Israel. Listen, you're not going to find perfection. I'm pro-Israel over Hamas. That's the way it is. But I just call balls and strikes when it comes to Israel. When Israel's evil, I call them evil. When they're right, I call them right. Hamas is never right, so they're always evil. It's like that, right? That's how it works. I do the exact same thing with Trump. I do the exact same thing with myself. $500 million from our allies, British billionaire, to the NGO. Aaron, should I go on a 15-minute NGO rant?
No.
Okay. I won't go
They've heard it. They've heard
it. I do another NGO, which is what our country's all about. It's funding NGOs to profit Democrats. But anyway.
There it is.
There they go. Right. $500 million to the Children Investment Fund Foundation. That's got to be. Well, what do they do with the children there? Because it's $500 million to the kids. What kid has benefited from the Children's Investment Fund Foundation? I'm just curious. How do they benefit them? Aborting them? Is that the benefit? I'm just curious. Because not one kid in America has ever benefited from the Children's Investment Fund Foundation, but the funds did go to Soros riots. We got that. And to lawsuits against Republicans, and to the Rocky Mountain Institute, which is a Chinese NGO funded by the PLA and CCP, to lobby against us having gas stoves so that we can go again to renewable energy that's built and manufactured in China. As they go headlong into burning more and more fossil fuels because that makes you more powerful, they want us weaker by going into renewables. Speaking of weaker, let's look at the current status of the Catholic Church, shall we? Aaron will love this part. So Colin Rudd video, new, openly gay. Now let's talk about gay real quick. Will's growing. Let's talk about gay. Now, where does God stand on gay? Now, there's the thing, and everyone needs to understand something. But whether it's 1 Corinthians 6:18, whether it's 1 Corinthians 6:13, the body was not meant for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and the Lord for the body. The only sin against your own body is sexual immorality. By the way, that's hetero and homosexual sex, just so you know. So, just to make it clear, all sexual sin is hellbound. Everybody living in, if you watch porn and you hate homosexuals, you're going to the same hell. Understand that, because the lust of the eyes, Matthew 5:28, is exactly the same as the lust of the flesh. You're going to the exact same hell. The person who murders the abortion doctor will burn in hell right next to the abortion doctor. That's how it works. So I want everybody to know this, and it's not so that I can exonerate myself from attacking homosexuals, because I certainly attack that sin often, but I attack all sexual sin, and I am guilty of sexual sin myself. It's not, oh, how dare you, Tom, on high. No, here's the thing. Have you turned from your sin? It's not whether you've ever committed the sin. It's have you turned from the sin? From that time, Jesus began to preach and to say, repent, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. That's Jesus, Matthew 4:17. It's not, people always say that. People are always like, well, we're not going to be judgmental because we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. Okay, you're using the Bible out of context. It's not a matter of you can't ever address sin because you once sinned yourself. So you're not going to raise your kids then, right? You're just going to let them sin because you committed sins too? No. You never want to apply logic to your walk with God, would you? But anyway, even though God is the author and finisher of logic. But anyway, so I want you to understand something. If you live a life of homosexuality, now it's 1 Corinthians 6, 9, and 10. Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Do not be deceived. Neither fornicators. What's a fornicator? Somebody sleeping with their girlfriend outside of marriage. I don't care whether you're in love. I don't care if a Calvinist has told you that it's okay. It's not okay. I don't care if they tell you, try to do it less than you did before, and it's a fresh start and a new beginning. It's all lies from weak, watered down, hell-bound grace churches. Understand that. Do you not know that the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God? Now, who is this written to? The church at Corinth. This is not written to unbelievers. This is written to Christians. They're telling you, here are the prereqs to get into heaven. Here are the prereqs to get into hell. That the unrighteous will not inherit the kingdom of God. Do not be deceived, neither fornicators, nor idolaters, nor adulterers. Here it comes. Nor homosexuals, nor sodomites, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor thieves, nor covetous, nor drunkards, nor revilers, nor extortioners will inherit the kingdom of God. Aaron, is that clear?
That's pretty clear.
Okay, it's clear, right?
Yeah.
Just so you know, that's just one verse, Tom. First of all, it's not one verse, it's two. But second of all, it's the exact same thing in Revelation 21:8. It's the exact same thing in Galatians 5:19 through 21. So please, don't bother with it. And if you're gonna be a weak, lukewarm, watered down Christian, then please just don't acknowledge Christianity.
Right.
Because you're not one anyway. You're not. What does God say in Revelation 3:15 and 16? If you're lukewarm, I'm going to spew you out of my mouth. So what's the point of being lukewarm? I know thy works, that thou art neither cold nor hot. I would thou wert cold or hot. So then, because thou art lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew thee out of my mouth. So if you're going to be somebody who believes in sin-filled grace, in other words, I got saved, but I continue to sin, you're not saved. If we deliberately keep on sinning after we have received the knowledge of the truth, no sacrifice for sins is left, but only a fearful expectation of judgment and of raging fire that will consume the enemies of God. Hebrews 10:26 and 27. It's over.
Boom.
I can go on and on. I can go on and on. It might be a Calvinist that's watching right now. You're just somebody who believes in sin-filled grace. Well, you know what? I believe that, God's grace covers all sin that's repented of.
Yep.
Not somebody who continues to sin. I just read you the verse. If we deliberately keep on sinning, Jesus said the same exact thing in John 15:6. If anyone does not remain in me, he is like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. I could go on. They're all right here. So what's the status, Aaron, just side by side this? So here you have the Catholic Church. I'm trying to remember. I think it's confirmation. Confirming, in other words, welcoming into, and I'm not saying that the Catholic Church is legitimate Christianity. There are legitimate, born again Catholic people. I know I've met at least one. Well, maybe I shouldn't say that because I don't know if he's legit. But anyway, he claimed to be. But anyway, there are. And when I started my walk with God, I was still going to the Catholic Church. But God took me out of that. But anyway, so here you have the Catholic Church confirming the following. Openly gay ABC News anchor Gio Menendez joins the Catholic Church with his husband. How is this Christianity when I just read you those verses? But here's the video. Play it for me.
How beautiful is the body of Christ. How beautiful the heart that bled, that took on my sin and bore it instead. How beautiful the tender eyes that chose to forgive and never despise. How beautiful.
That lady solo reminds me of something. Tonight, I was at my house and I was walking up to I have a garage built to the side of my house as well as the one in the house, but I just had a garage built. And I walked up and there's this wretched stench. I'm like, what is that? I mean, it smelled like it was something dead in the woods right there. I'm like, what is it? And Tommy, my son, went out. We were all looking for it. And then he ends up smelling like it. And we're like, what the heck is that? Well, my wife, we have this giant fly catcher right next to our trash cans. And it's like full of gooey flies, dead flies that are decomposing. Well, my wife, now listen, it's the greatest thing in the world to live with a woman. It really is. I mean that. It's the greatest thing to live with a woman, but there's a downside. The downside is that my wife, for some reason, did not conceive of the very fact that if you go out there with decomposing flesh and you fling it into the woods right next to the garage, that we're going to now smell dead bodies for the next month. That's what that solo, and, because you talk about whether it's like Ephesians 5:2, aromas unto the Lord. That's what that aroma of that solo was, as she celebrates the very fact that those guys are going to celebrate his confirmation with anal sex that night. So anyway, yeah, if you find a hairy butt and balls hanging in between the butt cheeks attractive, okay, you're not right with God if you're a man. Get right with God and get your mind renewed. But anyway, so that's what that, and first of all, it was a wretched, horrible solo to begin with, but find somebody to sing. And the reason why she's probably cracking up is because she was so emotional over the very fact that finally the Catholic Church is going to celebrate men having anal sex that night. So here was addressed. Colin Rugg video. Again, Colin Rugg. Great follow on Twitter, by the way. New Bishop Joseph Strickland from the Catholic Church gets ignored as he called on the USCCP, some sort of Catholic leadership organization of bishops, to address how ABC anchor Gio Benitez, who is married to a man, how the Catholic Church stands on this when it comes to doctrine. Watch this. Play for me.
But since we're in the area of doctrine, I don't know how many of us have seen on the social media priests and others gathered celebrating the confirmation of a man living with a man openly, and it just needs to be addressed. Father James Martin, once again involved, great pictures of all of them smiling. Here we are talking about doctrine. I just thought I need to raise that issue. I know it's not part of any agenda, but this body gathered, we need to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you, Bishop Mossack. Please go ahead.
Yeah, just a word of thanks. This has been a 9-year process, beginning with the doctrinal note and Sincere thanks to the current members of the committee and the former members, and to Father Kunkel, Dr. Legree, and Dr. Verbeek, and our many theological advisors who've helped us along the way, along with our partners in Catholic healthcare. Just a brief infomercial. On your tables, there's an advertisement for a faith in science.
So they never address it. The guy simply asked, we need to address this doctrinal issue of confirming people who are living in sin. It happened here at our church. I had a couple that attended the church. They lived together. They had multiple kids. I didn't kick them out of the church. But then they asked me to be baptized. They heard every single week. You ask Will, you ask Aaron, who never missed church. They're always here. They knew every week where I stood with their fornication. They knew. Is there any question? But they chose to still come. Fine. They're welcome to walk into the building. No problem with that. But you're going to hear the truth here, and you're going to squirm. Well, they just chose to ignore those portions of my sermons, which I don't know how they did it because they came here for years. But then they wanted to be baptized. They wanted me to acknowledge their Christianity. I told them, no, you're not saved. You're not saved. Why didn't they get married? Because they were receiving governmental benefits because they had lots of kids. If they got married, they'd lose their government benefits. So they wanted to stay in sin. So they'd rather go to hell and receive government benefits. But anyway, so the bishop there asked the Catholic Church, are we going to address this? And what everybody's thinking in there is, no, we're not going to do this. You know what? We choose just to love people. Okay. So what is love? What is love? 1 John 4:16. God is love. Anything that is God is love. God says that homosexuality is sin. So what is love? Preaching that homosexuality is sin and not confirming them into Christianity, falsely calling them Christians when they're not. He that saith unto the wicked, thou art righteous, him shall the people curse, nations shall abhor him. Proverbs 24:24. And that's exactly what the Catholic Church is doing. They are saying, we would rather love people. We just want to love them. They go into their charitable stuff right after. We're just loving people. We're going to love them right in the midst of their sin. How are you loving them? By ushering them straight to hell. Well, we don't believe they're going to hell. Well, that's because you aren't really saved yourself, because you don't believe the Jesus. The Jesus is the Word of God. There are three that bear witness in heaven: the Father, the Word, and the Holy Spirit, and these three are one. 1 John 5:7. If you aren't, Jesus is the Word. John chapter 1, verse 1. John chapter 1, verse 14. He is the Word. The Word became flesh and dwelt among us, and we beheld his glory, the glory as of the only begotten of the Father, full of grace and truth. John 1:14. He is the Word. So how are you a Christian if you're not obedient to Jesus? And we're going to ignore that for the sake of love. Love does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth. That's 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. Love suffers long and is kind. Love does not envy. Love does not parade itself, is not puffed up, does not behave rudely, does not seek its own, is not provoked, thinks no evil, does not rejoice in iniquity, but rejoices in the truth, bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. That's love right there. It's really not difficult. But yet they're going to claim superior Christianity by ignoring God, by ignoring Jesus, the Word of God. Good news on this front, changing subjects. Nick Shorter tweet. Breaking, disgraced Rep. Eric Swallowswell. This is great news, isn't it? I saw somebody in the chat talking about it. Swallowswell needs to go to prison. Well, he might be. Has been referred to the DOJ for potential criminal charges after evidence of mortgage fraud. Be not deceived. Eric, you wanted Trump put in prison for crimes that don't exist and that he didn't commit. And now you are going to go to prison, hopefully, for crimes that you are undeniably guilty of. Adam Schiff is undeniably guilty of mortgage fraud. Letitia James has been committing mortgage fraud for 30 years. Undeniably, lied hundreds of times. It's undeniable. If you claim primary residency in a residence that isn't your primary residence, you've committed mortgage fraud. Guess what Eric and Adam and Letitia, Big Tish James, have done? That. There's no denying it. It's indisputable. It's irrefutable. There's no denying it. You're guilty. It's as simple as that. and people do go to prison and are prosecuted for it all the time. For potential criminal charges after evidence of mortgage fraud was found by FHFA Chair Bill Pulte per NBC. Swallows well. Not only committed mortgage fraud, he deemed himself ineligible to be a member of Congress as he declared his D.C. residence his primary residence. Okay, if that's your primary residence, then why do you claim your primary residence is in San Francisco, California? Eric, you want a Trump charge, be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever man sows, that shall also reap. For he who sows to his flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. But he who sows to the Spirit will of the Spirit reap everlasting life. And let us not be weary in well-doing. For in due season, Eric, we will reap if we faint not. And Donald Trump is now harvesting. He's harvesting you. No public record searches show a home owned or leased by Swallows Well in California. So he is disqualified from being a congressman because he's not a resident of California. Here's the choice. He either committed mortgage fraud or he's no longer a congressman. Pick your poison, Eric. All right, 10:15, that's good. Lots of people in the rant tonight. Thank you guys so much. The one and only Nude Monk, $20. Jules, 21 hours, $10. Richard Perry, $10. Dave Souders, $10. Robin Aroni, $5. You know, I'm thinking about doing something with the rant, copying Nick Fuentes. Maybe we'll do rant questions. I don't know what you guys send me what you think about that in the chat. We'll do like a rant question. That's what Nick Fuentes does. Good. It's a good fundraiser. That's how he pay. I believe that's really his. Well, he's selling a lot of stuff now. He's very popular. But anyway, basically you do a rant and then you get, he'll do the questions at the end of the show. But anyway, food for thought, thinking about doing that. But anyway, thank you guys so much in the rant. Thank you guys so much in the chat. Got a great post game tonight. Make sure you stick around and watch it. Just a couple minutes, probably 5 minutes long. Something like, if that, 5 minutes-ish long. Stick around for the post game. You love it. It's Thursday night, right, Aaron?
Yes.
All right, so back here tomorrow night. 9 o'clock, as always, with all the latest stuff that's going on. Love you guys. I really do. I love you. I appreciate you. One last time. God bless you.
Listen, if you're a Christian like me in this room right now, I'm not overly comfortable with the word. The word's quick and powerful and sharp, pierces, divides. Everybody thinks, you know what? That if it's Christianity, then it's acceptable and everybody will love me. No. It's not what Scripture says. It says, you shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth until the end shall be saved. That's just Jesus talking in Matthew chapter 10, verse 22.
Have you ever had a question you were too afraid to ask? Or a thought you knew everyone was thinking but no one dared to say out loud? Welcome to the Hope Hotline, where nothing's off limits and we say what others won't. Real talk, raw truth, your questions finally answered.
Thanks for watching the Tom Laipply podcast. We appreciate your support. As a special thank you, when you donate $25 or more, you will get a free TLP koozie. Enjoy your favorite cold drink while tuning in to our latest takes on current events. Your support keeps us going. Donate now to claim yours.
All progressive guys cross their legs like women. What they do, literally, it's a sign. It's I cross my legs. As I cross my leg, it'll hike up my top leg, pant leg, and it'll expose my colorful sock. Mm-hmm. And then you'll know where I'm at. By the way, you can watch them all. Watch Gavin Newsom. Watch them all. Watch them how they cross their legs, and then watch how Trump crosses his legs. He doesn't cross his legs. He holds his legs wide open.
He puts a diamond in front of his testicles.
Right.
He sits like this every time.
So there's Trump with the diamond. His diamond, which accentuates his nutsack. And then you have Justin Trudeau signaling, I have no balls. I have no balls. I will sit in this position for 4 hours, cut off the circulation of my nutsack because I do not have balls, but I have colorful socks, so you know where I'm at. Ladies, gay community, you know where I stand. Look at my socks and watch me cross my legs like a chick.
Governor Newsom, wildfires have destroyed millions of acres of the state, displaced countless amounts of family. Do you take responsibility for any of this, and is there anything more you think you could have done?
Not really. I think these fires were very devastating. I think the full scope of what actually has happened, we're not there yet. Okay, these people's houses are just destroyed. People are suffering. People are sad. but we're Californians. We're gonna push through, and where we're going, the vision is 10 times bigger than anybody else can even imagine.
Former President Trump has recently criticized your leadership, saying that you failed California. What's your response to him, and what does the future of California look like?
To be honest with you, I try to block that rhetoric, because the words that come out of his mouth, all the words out of his lips, they don't mean anything to me. He needs to use these more, because the future of California is bright. It's so bright. When you really try to look at it, I mean, really, really look at how bright it is, you're gonna need shades to live in California 24 hours a day.
Critics are saying that you're all hand gestures and no action. What's your response to that?
I think people are wrong, okay? They need to wake up. I speak with passion. I speak with fire, no pun intended. And I feel if I use my hands a lot, people won't be focused on the lies that are coming out of my mouth, because I lie a lot. So I want to distract them with my hands.
Interesting. Wait.
What?
Where'd my gum go?
To be honest with you, I have no idea. Would you look at that? You know what? This gum is just like California. It's sticky, it's resilient, and it'll bounce back.
You're a scumbag.
Thank you.
I got my SNAP benefits for this month. Super thankful to get any money at all to help with groceries. I got $16. Thankful, but still screwed. $16. What am I supposed to do with $16? Buy some pasta, some butter, and bread, hope for the best? How is $16 going to last me 30 days? It won't. Straight up. That's not even enough for a week. And I know people are gonna say, get a job, just work, just buy your own groceries. Hey, I do. Hey, I have a job. Okay? I have a job and I DoorDash. And I'm grinding on Facebook Marketplace, trying to sell stuff. Hey, I'm bringing money in, okay? The problem is there's more money going out than there is coming in. Hence the food stamps. Hence me needing help from my government. And that's what the government is there for. That's what they're there to do. To help people, to make sure that their people stay fed. So thanks. Thanks for that $16. It's really gonna go far.
So I said, this has to be a line for groceries, right? Wrong. You telling me the first thing they did when they got their EBT checks was go to the hair place? Hair. They was crying, shouting, hooting and hollering. And the first place they did when they check came is ran off to get some weed. This is the problem with the community, y'all. Y'all have no fight. Like, y'all are complaining about $25,000 that Kamala was gonna give. You don't qualify to get a house. Don't make enough money. You don't have anything of value. But the first thing you do when they reopen the government and they give back them checks is you run out and grab weave wrapped around the building. I thought this was a food pantry.
A higher volume of tests. When you go back to the manufacturer,
he's like, I'm going to do what I want to do.
Dan, you want that? Too bad. Lauren, you sit that.
If we all believe the same thing, we'd be the same religion. According to the New Testament, it's going to hurt people. Muhammad is an antichrist. There are many antichrists who will come into the world. I know Muslims will get offended, but it is what it is.
What happened with you and Jenko?
Give him some time. It was a misunderstanding, and that's fine. Okay.
Have you guys spoken since or no?
Go find people where they're at, invite them to Islam, and if they accept, they're safe. If not, take the jizya from them, and if not, kill them until the victor goes the spoils.
How do you go where you were at to now being able to sit down against any Muslim pretty much and have a strong debate with them?
Most Muslims are shocked to hear when I say, oh, Hazrat Aisha, did you know she was 9 when Muhammad deflowered her? You're a liar. You're lying. Can you tell me how to invite Jesus? She thought I was crazy. What are you talking about? But I remember crying out to him. And I said, Jesus, I don't know how to invite you in, but I want you in my life. I'm not supposed to cry, I'm Jiru.
There's something very different about you that you're a complicated human being.